Welcome to the Dome Discussions Podcast. Your top source for all things New Orleans Saints. Powered by four voices who live and breathe black and gold. Touchdown! Every hit, every play.
Welcome to the NFL.
Every moment. We've got it covered.
Let's go! Let's go! Go!
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Appreciate everybody tuning into the Dome Discussions Podcast, part of Being the Know Network. I'm Kyle Besson with Canal Street Chronicles.
I'm Nick Jennings with Canal Street Chronicles.
I'm Caleb Yacarino with Canal Street Chronicles.
I'm Drew Collins with Who Dat Dish.
And we have officially made it. It is now Saints game week. The Saints will take on the Chargers on Sunday, and we'll talk about a little bit on that on our next episode, which will be either Tuesday or Thursday. We're still figuring it out, but we will have 2 episodes this week and every week forward that there's a game day. But we have a bigger topic that might be something that's a little bit of a bigger headline right now, which is Micah Parsons has requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. He put up a long tweet on Twitter, and there was a lot more into it than I would have expected. It seems like it's a lot more than negotiations right now. Caleb, I know you specifically have a lot that you want to say about it, so how about you start us off with Micah Parsons, and is he an actual target for the Saints?
Yeah, I mean, starting this off, even if you're looking at this from, Micah Parsons is not going to be traded to the Saints, just looking at it as a potential option, Micah Parsons is only 26 years old, has averaged over 10 sacks a season in his whole career, would fit the Brandon Staley defense perfectly, and Kellen Moore has had to coach an offense against him in practice with the Cowboys when Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator there. As a potential option, Micah Parsons is an amazing choice and would be amazing on the Saints. Now, would it happen? I think it's more. It's actually kind of not likely, but there's a better chance than not of it happening, just because he fits the timeline of what the Saints are doing. Just because he is 26 years old, and I think the Saints would be willing to give up multiple first-round picks for Micah Parsons. Again, that is super expensive with a rebuilding team, but the quarterback of the defense, with that much how important it is to the defense, is a dominant edge rusher. It could change the pass defense. It could change the run defense. It could change everything. You add Micah Parsons to this pass rush, it's one of the best pass rushers in the league. And having that, if with a coach that knows how important the trenches are, you just fix your offensive line and defensive line in one season, and for the next 3 to 4 years, you now have an amazing offensive line and an amazing defensive line.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you that this would be a move that I think would be worth making for the Saints, unlike how I felt about the TJ Watt potential trade. It's worth noting that all this tension stems from conversations between Parsons and Jerry Jones. The Cowboys believed they had a deal in place. Parsons saw them as informal talks and wanted his agent to negotiate. When the agent did try, Dallas refused, said that they thought it was already done, and they've since cut off contact with Parsons entirely, creating this standoff between the two. Just the fact that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys think they can work out a 9-figure deal with Micah Parsons without even talking to his agent just kind of shows where the direction the Cowboys are headed right now. And when looking at potential trade compensation, when Khalil Mack was 27, the Raiders traded him to the Bears for 2 first-round picks, a 3rd and a 6th. Chicago got Mack a 2nd and a conditional 5th in return. And Parsons, like you said, Caleb, one of only 2 players in NFL history with 12-plus sacks in each of his first 4 seasons, along with Reggie White. So it would definitely be worth it. You mentioned his fit in a 3-4 scheme, that freedom to be able to decide if you want to stand up off the edge or put your hand in the dirt. That would really bolster the defensive line with Micah Parsons there, taking charge of that room. His versatility would fit right in with the flexibility of Staley's system. And Chase Young even mentioned the freedom that they have now. So I think it would be a great move. I know the Saints will be able to structure a deal creatively. They always find a way to do it. They've made big contracts work before. So I'm all for adding some firepower to the unit, especially in an area that the New Orleans Saints have struggled in as of recent.
Real quick, I do want to just roll it back real quick. I was not saying that the trade is likely. I misspoke. I was just saying like if there's a percentage around like 30 to 40 is where I'm at, but that's a lot higher than like most of the potential. Like the TJ Watt conversation when that was a thing, that was like 10. There's still better odds. It's not likely, but there's still better odds of it happening.
I'm gonna go against you guys on this. I don't think the Saints should do it. Stuff. I would love Micah Parsons in the Saints. He would be so good, elevate that pass rush so much, as you'd say. Going back to what Nick was saying about the Khalil Mack, I think he might fetch a little bit more than that even. And I'm not willing personally to give up 2 first-round picks and some change for it. I think that is so much on a rebuilding team where your quarterback's not certain and you wouldn't have really anything that is 100% set in stone except for the Micah Parsons. I don't think the Saints are in a position to be going out like that to trade for a star. I don't think the talent or the talents would match up, but I don't think the trade value is worth it. But it'd be great if he was on the Saints. And yeah.
And I'm gonna agree with what Drew said. Obviously, I agree with most of what he said there. But for me, this isn't even a conversation on do the Saints go ahead and make this move? Because there's 2 teams that have to agree to the deal here, and one of them's the Dallas Cowboys, who we already know said we're not trading Micah Parsons. And we talked about this a little bit off the stream with Terry McLaurin, where I said when Terry McLaurin requested a trade, I said give it about 8 hours, and we're going to get the Washington Commanders have no plans to trade it. And it happened directly after. It's going to happen with the Micah Parsons thing. My biggest example here, though, when it comes to this is, like, when was the last time an NFL superstar was traded? As far as I can see, when we talk about superstars, was Tyreek Hill when he got traded to the Dolphins a few years ago. And then off of that, it's just like Myles Garrett is another great example. Myles Garrett requested trade in the offseason. He's like, I just don't see this team competing and winning. I want to be a competitor. But money talks, and then you throw a bag and you get a 4-year, I think it was 4-year, $160 million. I should have it in my notes somewhere. 4-year, $160 million contract, and that's what Micah Parsons is going to be eyeing now too. These are these huge edge rusher contracts, and the Saints can't pay that for one. I know you guys say like there's a way they can make it work, but if the Saints make that work, they're going to be feeling it for 8 years. Like, this is a contract that's not going to affect the Saints for 4 years. It's going to be a while. So I don't think the Saints can make it work, but I don't see the Cowboys moving on from him either, because teams just don't trade their superstar players. You can trade a star player, but a player of this caliber doesn't get traded often.
Yeah, and I get that. It's kind of like, I just think that with the Myles Garrett situation, it felt like it was more, as you said, about winning, and it wasn't about like there is a true strange relation. Like when a lot of these players have been asking out. Same with Terry McLaurin. There's not that they might say there's a strained relationship, but like we don't see it publicly, and we really don't know if there actually is, and that's a play. We have seen this very publicly that there is a real strained relationship between Micah Parsons and the Cowboys, where it's gotten to a level that it might be better for both sides to just separate. And I think when it gets to that level, I really think the Saints can be into the race for Micah Parsons. And I really think they could get it done for a similar, maybe not getting a 2nd-round pick back, but a similar type of trade with that Khalil Mack trade. My dream trade would be 1st-round pick in 2026, 1st-round pick in 2028, and then the 3rd-round pick, whatever. No matter what, non-negotiable if the Cowboys want that 2027 1st-round pick. That's non-negotiable, in my opinion. If everything goes wrong, you have that pick at least. But again, it's the same thing. 2 picks or 2 1st-round picks, same compensation for the Khalil Mack trade, maybe a little bit more expensive. But I just think it's worth it with how much he brings to the defense. And again, will it happen? We don't know. But if he does become available and all the leverage the Cowboys now have is down the drain, I think it could happen.
Yeah, and I
I don't know if I'd
definitely
be willing to
think
give up that much. I think he
Well,
might fetch more.
Yeah,
I
think it's
definitely
very
agree. It's gonna be a heavy price, but I definitely think it's worth noting what Caleb said regarding the animosity surrounding the Cowboys and Micah Parsons regarding other stars requesting trades. According to Diana Rossini, the relationship has completely deteriorated to the point where Micah Parsons is considering severing the entire relationship despite the trade request, despite the Cowboys saying that they don't plan to trade him. It's not good over there. There is definitely problems between the agent, between him and the front office. It's not just he wants to be paid. He feels disrespected, and that could always lead to something bigger.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but it's always this is a situation like we hear every year in the NFL. I mean, Shamar Stewart's probably not the greatest example, but that's a situation that we looked at and we're like, how does this even work at the end, right? Shamar Stewart publicly called out the Bengals. It feels like the Bengals has publicly called out Shamar Stewart. Yet $500,000 is what got the deal done, where the signing. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about how Shamar Stewart's happy to play. And again, it's not the exact same example, but Myles Garrett. I know we're saying, and not nearly as bad as this Micah Parsons situation, but he was just saying, I don't see a path forward with this team. I don't feel like this team is where I should be anymore. I don't see this as a home anymore. To publicly say that and then come out and sign a big deal, it means a lot. And, I mean, you could feel a lot of these guys will feel disrespected, and I hate to agree with Jerry Jones on one thing, but these trade requests are often just trade negotiation tactics or not contract negotiation tactics. So you never know how much of it's really true. Micah Parsons may be just willing to move the needle a little bit further, say, I hate it here, just to get some more money or to get a longer deal or get the deal going. So, but as far as it goes, I just don't see a superstar being traded. To me, it doesn't happen a lot in the league, and especially at a premium position like edge rusher. They're going to find a way to make it work with them, but I do think the Cowboys are dropping the ball a little bit with this because you don't want to sour this relationship. And I don't know how this has happened where you locked his agent out to talk with him, and then you say that's the deal. That's crazy. It is a crazy situation. I won't make it past that, but I'm sure they will find a way to make it up to Parsons. Is kind of how I see it going. But past that now, let's talk more actual Saints football here because we're heading into the first preseason week, and the QB battle has certainly heated up. We've seen our standouts. I think we all have eyes on a guy who we think might be the one, and obviously preseason is going to show us a lot about that. But this has clearly been a competition that it's warranted. It's warranted. These guys are all going out there. All three of them are going out there and performing and putting up for it. Obviously, we have eyes on two. But what do you guys think about this competition, how it's gone so far, heading into the preseason game? What are we looking for there, and is it closer than we think?
Well, look, I'll be honest with you. It still feel like Spencer Rattler has that slight edge at the moment, especially considering we've seen days where Tyler Shough has gotten 0 reps in team drills, and we've seen Spencer Rattler with the one significantly more than the other two, even though Rattler did see his first day with the third team on Saturday. But Rattler has just had a ton of big plays so far this camp. You could see the improvement, both as a passer and on his legs. And like I mentioned before, he just looks so much more poised and decisive based on what we've seen last season. On Wednesday and Saturday, Rattler completed every pass he threw except for an interception and a drop on those respective days. So he's looking consistent, and that's something we didn't really see from Spence last season. In regard to Tyler Shough, it's been nice to see him letting it fly more as of late. Seemed a bit hesitant at first. You could tell those nerves were settling in, but you can tell now he's feeling more comfortable. But obviously with letting it fly comes interceptions. He's thrown 3 interceptions the past 3 practices, but for his first drive in the scrimmage on Sunday, he went 8 for 8 with a touchdown to Michael Jacobson, which was really encouraging as well. The thing with Shough is handling pressure. Brandon Staley's been sending the house at all the quarterbacks, and Shough has definitely struggled with it. He obviously wasn't helped by some poor snaps, which has been the case when Eric McCoy is not on the field, but it's clear the decision-making is not there yet, but I only see him improving from here on out. And Jake Haener also deserves some credit as well. He's not afraid to stretch the field. He's had some really pretty touchdowns. It really feels like this is becoming a conversation around Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler, and Spencer Rattler seems to have his foot in the door for becoming the Saints starting quarterback.
Yeah, and speaking of that scrimmage, so that was Sunday. That was the first scrimmage of Saints training camp so far, and I think that was also telling for the whole quarterback competition as a whole, because Jake Hayner's snaps dropped drastically. It really didn't feel like he was in the competition at times. It was really Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler going back to back every play, and I know Tyler Shuck started to take more snaps by the end of practice, but it did feel like it was those two, and that's all. Jake Hayner did get some snaps, but I think this is the first time really that we felt like, okay, it's these two officially. I agree with Nick. I really don't think this gap is closing right now. It really still feels like Spencer Rattler is the leading guy, and it it's not getting wider right now. Both quarterbacks struggled at times and did great at times during the scrimmage, but I think it just has stayed the same. Shuck is still making some not great decisions, but he's also not getting help from, as you said, the snaps, the drops. But I also like that he's taking those risks. He was being very passive at the beginning of training camp. Spencer Rattler has kind of stayed the same. He's making massive plays. He's taking those risks, but they're super calculated. They make sense. He's doing great in the pocket. He doesn't feel rushed at times. The interception that he did throw in that scrimmage, I think it was to Kool-Aid McKinstry, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Kool-Aid McKinstry or Quincy Riley?
I think
It was Kool-Aid McKinstry on a slant.
wait, is that
That was
Rattlers?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, Rattlers was Dick McKinstry.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler threw a interception to Kool-Aid McKinstry on a slant. But honestly, I don't even know how Kool-Aid McKinstry got that ball because it was pretty good there, and the wide receiver probably should have gotten it. So I don't blame Spencer Rattler for that throw. But he's been doing great. He's stayed consistent. He's doing everything we wanted a quarterback to show. Again, it goes into preseason. Preseason is going to matter a lot with how these players do. But for practice wise, the gap is still big, and I still think Spencer Rattler takes his job.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. Rattler definitely has the lead right now. He's played really well so far. I mean, I think better than our expectations were going into the offseason. This is all going to boil down to the preseason games. We can say what we want right now. We can say what we've seen right now. But the telling part of this conversation will be what we say next week. After we see our first preseason game, after we see how they go to actual other team competition who are trying to sack them, sending pressure, other cornerbacks. I think that's going to be so telling. And I think next week we're going to have not a definitive answer, but definitely a better idea of who's going to be starting.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with what you're saying, but I will say, kind of how what Nick said is Brandon Staley is not holding back on these guys at all. And how many days have we come out of practice and we're like, offense was spotty for everybody? So these guys are all definitely still struggling to, I would say, against high level defenses or defenses that are putting a pressure. And Spencer Rattler obviously has had the best performances. He's been the most poised, decisive. I believe he has 2 perfect days passing, and then he has those 2 days of passing where it's just one incompletion or interception. So Rattler is definitely the guy that's maintaining this defense, this pass rush, making the reads faster. But I feel like we already knew that. Actually, if you would have asked me, I feel like that would have been Jake Hayner doing that and then Rattler. These two guys you already knew. You knew Shuck wasn't going to come in and complete all of his passes on one day. And this is too different of a game than what he saw when he was at Oregon, at Louisville, in college. It's too different of a game, and we knew this wasn't going to happen. What I want to say is Shuck actually turned it around. He started letting it loose after his one day at practice. He threw, I believe it was 3 or 4 passes. That was it. He had 3 or 4 reps. I believe it was 3 or 4 reps, actually. And he had like maybe 2 passes that day. And then the next day is when he started letting it loose. So I feel like there was probably a conversation between Kellen Moore and Shuck here where it's like, hey, we don't think you're taking as much risk as possible. We'd rather see you throw interceptions here today. Throw an interception practice. We don't want to see this in games. Let it loose now. And I feel like that conversation is one that have been had. And now Shuck's letting it loose, and he's living with these interceptions. I believe his interception in the scrimmage was a batted down ball that Nafai Sewell actually just made a really good diving play on. But we want to see these things now. I was waiting. I think it went too long without Tyler Shuck throwing an interception. Because how do you learn? How do you adjust if you don't make these mistakes? So obviously, he seems like the Saints' plan, right? He seems like the guy, their second round pick, and they want to try to coach him into it. But Spencer Rattler's not making any mistakes, and if this was the idea, he's making it hard on him. This is a real competition, fully open. This is Spencer Rattler versus Shuck, and Spencer Rattler is doing everything right. He threw the interceptions early, learned from him. His first interception early, it was a throwaway attempt that just didn't get there. At least that's how as he says it. So it was a throwaway attempt again, and we haven't seen that yet. And yes, he's throwing interceptions, but he's thrown maybe I don't think he's had a multiple interception day yet, has he? Yeah, so
Not multiple interception day, but he has thrown a couple. Definitely a couple.
and then he's responded every time. Every time he's thrown an interception, he has responded with a drive, either if it's his legs with his arm. So Spencer Rattler has shown everything that we want to see because he'll make these mistakes, he'll respond, and he's had his perfect days. He's the most consistent, but I feel like that's what we should have expected at least if it's not what we already did. Now I say if a 5th-round rookie from last year, it's kind of impressive to see the turnaround now, and like you guys said, preseason will be when we actually see it because the Chargers have no reason to hold back on Rattler. They have no reason to do any of this. And I don't think the Saints are either, but now you'll really see it. You have a whole different scheme. You're going against guys. You haven't seen this stuff every day. He saw a few weeks of film from this, and that's all he has, and now it's time for him to make these decisions in real time.
Yeah, and that point was that was a really good point about there was definitely a conversation with Shuck that you really need to start taking risks in practice. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think about that. But it also is like I had it pinned on my Twitter all season when Spencer Rattler was playing. Rookie mistakes are rookie mistakes for a reason. You want to see your rookies make mistakes at times. Obviously you don't, but you know they're going to learn from it. You got to let them learn from it. It's one of the reasons why I was like, just start Shuck, no questions. This was before Rattler started to just be amazing, but start Shuck and just you kind of see what he is because he needs to have that year. But the one thing I want to push back, point you made, Kyle, was that we kind of should have expected this from Rattler, like him being poised. I actually think the opposite. Rattler at times last season looked scared, and I know he was behind a shoddy offensive line at times, but he did struggle with pocket presence a lot last season. He just never felt the pressure at times that he needed to. He didn't step up at times. He was making mistakes in the pocket, stuff that can be fixed. He's improved on that. And that was one of the things that most people wanted him to improve on going into this season because that's the next step for a rookie because rookies always struggle in the pocket. It's just something that happens. Caleb Williams' pocket presence was not great last year. It's the one of the main things you want to see a second-year quarterback, the step they take, have better pocket presence, commands the pocket. That's what we've seen from Rattler. Sorry. And it's one of those things that, like, you want to see that growth, and it's everything we saw from Rattler. And that kind of is why I just am like, if the Saints believe they're winning now, which you could argue about that they should, and if that's even supposed to be the plan. But if they're going to win now, Spencer Rattler's the choice. If you're gonna stay patient and say, okay, let's have our young player out there and see what he does, you pick Shuck. But that's not where this team is. And with how it's a pretty big gap right now. I think we're not talking about it enough that like this gap between Shuck and Rattler is pretty big. I know Shuck is a rookie and he's been making some great plays. It's still a pretty big gap right now. I mean, the consistency over everything is huge. So I think again, it goes down to preseason, and if Shuck just outplays Rattler, then everything changes. And we know that Shuck is just better in game. But if that doesn't happen, I could see the Saints naming a quarterback by the end of next week.
Actually, I want to cut up before anyone else goes because I think it is noticeable. Kellen Moore talked. I can't think of it. I don't know why. Fletcher Mackerel, is that his name? He's a reporter for, I believe WDSU. I'm blanking everything right now. He did a slight interview after yesterday's scrimmage. They said Kellen Moore said they feel close with who they're going to go with their quarterback right now. They feel close. That can only to us lead to like believe it's Spencer Rattler, right? If anyone's close to just take the job right now, then it would be Spencer Rattler. But obviously that could also have been a filler answer. He could have said that and not been close. It could just be. But yeah, so they are saying that they feel, at least from what we heard and what he said, they said they feel like they're close to their quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's,
again, as I said, this preseason. I did want to mention real quick I actually have the stats up in front of me of the totals for the quarterbacks, each quarterback. Credit to Ross Jackson of Locked On Saints. Tyler Shuck has thrown 108 passes this training camp with 5 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Spencer Rattler has thrown 114 passes this training camp with 8 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And Jake Haener has thrown 112 passes this training camp with 5 passing touchdowns and just 1 interception. So when you really look at being willing to take risks and moving the ball, you look at Spencer Rattler's ability to score 10 total touchdowns. When you look at the consistency of not turning the ball over, the guy you're really looking at there is Jake Haener, which is not something that I thought I would have been saying. He had 25 attempts, more than Spencer Rattler when it came to the scrimmage, didn't have a touchdown or an interception. When it came to the scrimmage, Tyler Shuck actually had the most reps with 40 passes, completing 25 of them with a touchdown pass and that interception to Nephi Sewell. But it's really encouraging to see that this is a healthy quarterback battle between all 3 guys. I think we have been guilty on this podcast of kind of pushing Jake Haener out of the conversation a little bit. But as of now, it looks like Jake Haener is putting up a fight more than anyone else is.
To be honest, I think this preseason first game benefits Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener a lot more. We saw what the Chargers did to the Lions last week in the Hall of Fame game. They held the quarterbacks 12 for 20, 104 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. It's a real possibility that we go out here, see Shuck in his first ever preseason game, and he struggles against a defense that has already played a game. They already have that experience under their belts. And I think that just benefits Rattler or Haener a lot more because they have more experience. They've seen these defenses before. While Shuck's first ever test is against a defense who has already played some together. I think it's going to be telling.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to respond to Caleb a little bit earlier when I said I believe we should have expected Rattler. What I meant we should have expected is we should have expected him to look more comfortable than Shuck in the pocket is kind of what I was going. A full offseason under his belt is huge for any player. Like I said, Shuck got drafted in April, OTAs and everything, and started immediately a couple weeks after. He got a month or 2 break, and then he's into it. But what I meant is, like, we should have expected Haener and Rattler to come in and obviously be more poised when facing a pass rush. Speaking of, that was also Shuck's biggest, like one of his biggest knocks coming out of college, so we already knew it was going to be a problem. I'm glad Brandon Staley is sending the blitz, and we can actually see how much of a problem it is. Again, I still don't know how much the difference is in practice because Shuck knows he's not going to get taken off his feet, so we'll really see how much of a problem it is against the Chargers. Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. We've seen it, but he's not expecting it. Who was it that did that? He
did. Tyler Shuck last week, I believe, twice in 7-on-7s without an offensive line or defensive line, took the ball and just started running with no pressure on him at all. So he's definitely feeling the heat of that a little bit.
I
think
off their feet too. A quarterback did get hit.
Jake Haener.
No. Oh, Jake
a couple
Haener
days ago. Yeah, he dove for a first down and came up limping.
Oh, didn't Danny Stutzman hit Chris Olave too?
I think he hit one of the running backs. I think it might have been Kendra Miller.
I think it was Kendra. I think it was like early on. One of the quarterbacks got taken off their feet. Like it was a high hit taken off their feet. I forgot who it was. That was early on though. But what I mean is like Shuck doesn't exactly fear getting hit as much. So if he's feeling like antsy now, we'll see it probably against the Chargers when these guys are hitting, and these guys are also trying to make a roster. We can't forget that part. So everybody, each 11 of the guys across from Shuck are trying to make the roster or earn a starting spot even. So they're going to be hitting. So he'll be feeling that, and we'll see how antsy he really gets because maybe he steps up in the spot. We don't know, and we'll see it then. But I think obviously, how we said before, preseason is going to be our biggest tell. And after week 1, Shuck could come out and have like 2 completions and 6 sacks or so, or he could go almost perfect and throw a couple touchdowns. It's really going to be a lot to digest, and I can't wait for that episode. Honestly, that's my favorite episode that I've been preparing for all season, is to break down a game. I'm so excited. It's going to be our first one, so make sure you guys tune in when it comes to that. But is there anything, closing statements on the quarterback battle that anybody wants to put in before we go into trivia? No? All right, then. All right, Drew, I believe you have picked our player for this episode.
I do have it today.
Last week, I was able to nail them both pretty early. Maybe if I get it early, I might hold it for a second. Or if anyone gets it early, maybe we hold on. But I think, Nick, you have a backup pick, right?
I have a backup, yep.
All right, so we might actually, if you
There's
get
a chance one of you might get it early.
If you get it, we'll go early, and then we'll let
chance.
Nick go with the backup pick. But without further ado, go ahead and name whichever stat you have for us.
He started off his career on the St. Louis Rams, then went to the Patriots, and then the Saints.
Hightower? No? Okay.
Patriots Saints is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, St. Louis Rams is a good one, too.
Yeah.
I have
Is it
years
tight
if you
end?
guys want him, or
Is it tight
a
end?
tight end.
Cool.
Is it Ben
Oh,
Okay,
Watson?
I don't.
Oh.
Watson, no.
I was gonna say Ben Watson. Oh no.
It is a tight end, though?
It is a tight end, yes.
All right, well, hold on in the years
Want
since we got
years?
tight end. Hold on. Oh, now that we got
Okay,
tight end,
okay.
wait.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oof.
I don't
Is it
know. A lot of,
Humano?
I-
I can't say his name. Michael Humano. I can't say his name. Is that who it is?
Yeah,
Tight end?
Michael
Yeah, I
I
knew
was-
it.
I don't know any of these guys' career path from a tight end from what is it, 2017, like before.
2010 to 2011.
Well, that's why I thought it was Benjamin Watson. I just didn't know what the
2014,
Rams.
and then 2015, 17.
Yeah, so he did it. Yeah, I don't know those guys' career path. I'll be honest with you guys. All right, I do feel like that was pretty.
He
rare.
randomly popped into my head.
You want the
Last
backup? This one, you
episode,
guys.
just randomly.
I'm never gonna do it, but I want you guys to know. Do any of you even know who Nick Toon is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was one of the options that I was going to pick for a
Yeah,
couple weeks ago.
I
Yeah.
would have picked Nick Toon. I would have felt like it was too cliche, but every time people name a random player ever, I think of Nick Toon because I always just related him to Nickelodeon. That's how I remembered him as a kid. It was Nickelodeon. All right, but go ahead, give us Nick. Let's go.
All right. Well, started his career with the Lions, then went to the Saints, then to the Broncos.
Okay. Lions, Saints, Broncos.
I don't know if this is right, but is it PJ Williams? I don't know if he was on line. I don't know why that
sounds like
name popped
It
in my
sounds
head.
like a very familiar
That
career
sounds like
path, though. The career path sounds very familiar.
It does.
It does. Lions Broncos is always just like I feel like there's a bunch of
What
players.
messed you guys up here is his first stint, because it feels like his first stint was with us from what we would be able to remember.
Is it?
Oh.
No, I don't think.
I'm leaning
All I can
defense.
Is
think
it Will
Malcolm
Harris?
Roach, but I know it's not him.
I might need years.
Malcolm Roach is a good one, but I think we drafted him. I'm pretty sure we drafted him.
Was with the Lions in 2016 to 2017, with the Saints from 2018 to 2022, and with the Broncos in 2023.
Lil Jordan Humphrey.
All right.
So many people left the Broncos. So many did.
It sounds like an undrafted free agent. So Lions for the first 2 years and then Saints for 4. Sounds like UDFA. Shoes. So it's.
Is it? Oh, what
wait,
position?
sorry,
I've had?
what year did he come into the league?
2016 7th round pick of the Lions.
Okay, where are we at?
He's in the 2016 draft.
I'm leaning defensively, but I can't.
Same.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Oh,
Wait, is he in the league?
Not defense.
Is he in the league? Wait, what? Is he still in the league?
No, I don't think so. If anything, practice squad hasn't had anything logged in a couple years.
What was the last season? Sorry, I need to write these down next time.
2023 with Denver.
2023 at Denver.
Okay, this is it? It's not Traquan Smith, but
No.
I don't know why.
Traquan
I'm just
Smith
thinking
was
of the
hurt.
past. I know.
I'm thinking
I think he played
Marquez
on all those teams.
Callaway. He hasn't had a stat, and he just got released by the.
No, but that was
49ers.
UDFA. That was I know that was
Oh yeah, he was.
Oh,
God.
He might
So
have got us.
offense.
right.
I could give you a position.
Like,
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Running back.
I knew it was gonna be that, and I don't.
I
God.
could just start.
was this Tony Jones Jr.?
That was a good one though. That was good. But I think he's too
God.
young. He's too young.
Who wants the Broncos?
Yeah,
I
a
don't know.
running back going to the Broncos.
About to start naming guys. No.
Give you guys. I'll give you a
What's the
hint.
it's
college?
good. Oh, give him the college because Drew might be able to snag it.
Washington.
Washington. Oh,
I'm gonna say Jarvis Hunter. It's not him.
That's even a bigger hint.
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh.
Go give us
That
that
might have been
second
big
one.
Get
enough
this.
for you.
Go give us.
All right, the second hint is he was one of the guys that followed Sean to Denver, and
Yeah.
he was. This one's gonna give it away, so I'll let you kind of guess for that one for a second.
Man, I hate when I don't know, man.
Oh my gosh. I
I
should
hate
know
when
this.
I don't know. Washington he started with Lions. Probably didn't do much. Came here.
Even played
What-
for
And
Saint
known
Bishop
for his
Saint
time
Joseph
with the
only
Saints.
once
It
a
seems like he
Give us
known
the
for his
Saint
time with the
seasons one more
Saints.
time.
2018 to 2022.
I'm gonna be so. This one's
4
gonna
years.
make me truly mad.
Is it actually?
I have a feeling it's gonna make me really mad.
Yeah, I mean, he had it. He
All right, you want the
clearly
last
had
hint?
Oh my gosh, Washington.
clearly had to
wait.
have some role in the team.
Here's the last hint.
I can
I'll give
picture
you.
him. I don't know what his name is.
He had to give up his number for Malcolm Jenkins when he came back.
27.
That didn't help me. I'm not gonna lie. Oh no! But it had it in my
I'm
head.
blanking, man. You got me. I'm blanking.
I know. I can picture him, but I don't know. I cannot remember his name.
Do we want to do the letters game at the final? Here's his name starts with.
Yeah.
His, name- his last name is the same as the college he went to.
Washington. Oh.
Oh no! What is
Man,
it?
that's a special team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No!
Oh,
What
what's
is
it?
it?
Wow. The poll.
Oh no! I only have Ty Washington in my head, and that's not right. Oh god.
I can't remember his first name to save my life. Washington 27. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Was he mostly a special teams role?
I'm so mad at myself right now.
He was a
special teams role.
prominent leader.
Yeah. No,
Don't
it's
forget.
it's close enough for us to get, but I'm tapping out. You got me. I'm tapping out.
I'm tapping out. It's in my head, but I'm tapping out.
Drew knows it. Like he
Yeah.
said, he was able to grab it, but you go
I
ahead.
know. I can picture him, but I cannot.
What's his first
My
name?
mind's like
It's-
Jaheim White.
it's-
He plays
it's
for West
Dwayne
Virginia.
Washington.
Dwayne Washington. Yeah, I was not guessing that, man. was
All
not-
right.
Good
That's
picture.
what I would
I
expect.
did not know his name.
I was. I
Yeah,
cannot.
no, I don't even. I remember.
He was behind AK and Mark for a while.
He was.
Was he part?
I'm so mad. I didn't know he was on a different team before the Saints.
So was he part?
That's
of
what I
that-
said. I told you that might.
Do you
Yeah,
guys
that's
remember
crazy.
That Bills game where Drew had a rushing touchdown, AK had a rushing touchdown, Mark Ingram had a rushing touchdown, and to end the game, am I saying town? Rushing touchdown, and to end the game, it was a young running back that had a rushing touchdown. Was that him? Do we have clear? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I might pull up highlights.
I
real
do
quick
not.
while we. I'm gonna pull up highlights real quick while we introduce the next section. So I'm gonna introduce the next section. I'm gonna actually pull up the highlights. 'Cause I want to see. Okay, so training camp last week we
Dwayne
talked
Washington
about
highlights.
our guys that we talked about our guys that we were happy to see performing, guys that have been standing out. This week it's a little bit different. There's some guys that now 2 weeks in, we're still not hearing their names as much as we want to. Maybe a little disappointing. Now for some positions you don't hear their name. That's a good thing. So specifically, but for this reason, who's some guy who you disappointingly hasn't seen stand out yet that you maybe expected to, or he needs to take that bigger role?
Yeah, on one of the earlier episodes of this podcast, I was very vocal on me believing in this being the year that Isaiah Foskey finally puts it together. I went back to his college days, pointed to his production there, pointed to his flexibility as a stand-up edge rusher and how that could become more prominent in Brandon Staley's scheme, but it just doesn't look like that breakout season that we've been hoping for is anywhere close to happening. He looks like he's getting mangled out there by tight ends, which is just not what you want to see. He's just really been a disappointment of a second round pick. But then again, that opens the door for guys like undrafted free agent out of Wake Forest, Jasheem Davis, who has really started to stand out a lot more. 6'3", 251 pounds, recorded the second most tackles for loss in program history with the Deacons, with 51 tackles for loss, and finished third in sacks with 25.5. He had a 2-sack day on Thursday at Saints practice in one of the most pumped and energetic practices that we've seen. The defense was loud all day. The offense was cheering for every score. So that was just an awesome day of practice. But yeah, Jasheem Davis is he really seems like he's breaking out, especially in that 3-4 scheme, being able to come up off the edge, stand up off the edge. That's a good he's a good prototype for that role. He's got good burst off the edge. Could be a nice compliment to Chase Young and Carl Granderson. Another guy that's opening the door for us, Chris Rumpf, spent time with Brandon Staley in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Another tall, slim edge rusher, good in that stand-up role. He's been getting some work with the second team, had some first team reps as well. He looks like he's getting a lot of action out there. So that's the encouraging part about Isaiah Foskey not panning out, but there's really not much positives to take out from a promising young college player not panning out in the NFL, especially when we had such high hopes for him.
Yeah, and I agree with Nick. If I didn't choose my player that I'm going to talk about later, I would have chosen Isaiah Foskey. Someone who I also had high hopes going into training camp. I've said from the beginning that I don't blame the Saints for drafting as not the perfect draft pick, but athletic, smart, had pass rush moves, and had production at Notre Dame. It was everything. It made sense to draft him, but it just hasn't worked out for some reason. And then, as Nick also said, this was going to be the moment in his career to turn it around. New scheme, really feeling like a new team at this point, and it just hasn't happened. And it's one of those things where it's not even just no one's talking about Isaiah Foskey. There was a clip that came out of I don't know if it was scrimmage, but I think it was where Kendre Miller broke for a run, and Isaiah Foskey was at the edge, and he just kind of didn't try to tackle him and just kind of let him go. I know he was being blocked, but there was no effort there. That's so worrying. And to have bad plays also happen while also not talked about, at this point, I could see Isaiah Foskey being a 53-man roster cut.
That play you're talking
I
about.
see that too. I was so hopeful for him.
That
He was the all-time sack leader at Notre Dame. His production was insane. He has done nothing in the NFL. Really hoping this is the year for him, but there's still time. Maybe he breaks out in the preseason, but as of now, it's looking unlikely.
Yeah, and the play you're talking about, it definitely made its way on Twitter. It always does. Yeah, So I think the more glaring issue there was he was one-on-one manhandled by a tight end. It was being blocked by a tight end. I don't know, dare so say it was a lack of effort there, but yeah, he was definitely losing a rep to a tight end. Now, he did set the edge. Again, that was probably his role there, set the edge. Kendre Miller cut in, but you would have liked to see him be able to break off of a block. Now, I don't even know what tight end this was. Maybe Jack Stahl. I know we're really
I
high.
believe it was Michael Jacobson.
I know we're really high on Jack Stahl's blocking ability, but you feel like your edge rusher should win his one-on-one with a tight end. He was not able to get off the block.
I mean, he didn't even get a handout. Like, his hands were down. It just felt it was lack of effort, which is the worst thing to do when you're fighting for a roster spot. And again, it's not
With
even
Bo
like
Davis,
he's making and
with Bo Davis as your D-line coach.
yeah, no, it's bad. So like, and as Drew said, yeah, preseason it might be better. I think honestly in preseason, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure Isaiah Foskey had a sack against the Chargers. So, and I might be wrong, but I'm fairly certain it was. So he has, if he could do it in preseason, if he gets some sacks, this is a different story. But on a pass rush, that kind of has been pretty good with its depth, and the production in training camp has been pretty decent. I don't know. I also don't see a spot for him right now. It's not even about his ability. Maybe he still has the ability, but I don't see a spot for him. And that's the biggest issue for me right now.
Especially with guys slimming up on the edge. Chase and Carl Granderson, they're taking his role. And he needed to establish that at the beginning of the offseason or at the end of last season, and it just hasn't happened.
By the way, I want to say the Bills running back, the Bills rushing touchdown. Just go back to the trivia real quick. It was Trey Edmonds' first career rushing touchdown.
Okay.
It also broke a record. It was 6 rushing touchdowns. So some type of broken record. I didn't actually watch all of it. I was looking at the highlights. But the Saints ran for 6 touchdowns that day, including Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and a little fun fact, I guess, for you guys there. And to go back to it, so now to wrap up, yeah, Isaiah Foskey, and really, again, we could kind of lean to that draft class. Has been a little iffy, and it's something that maybe a lot of those guys are ones that we'd like to see step up. But going into it, Caleb, I know you have quite a few names, so we're actually going to save you for a little bit later to let Drew go ahead and name his disappointment so far.
About how that draft class hasn't been great. I'm going right back to it. This player, you didn't really hear his name that much, which was not bad until very recently. My player is Nick Saldiveri. Wasn't playing bad, but I mean, man, season-ending knee injury. He just has not been able to get on the field. The Saints really like this guy coming out of Old Dominion. They traded up to the first pick of day 3 in 2023 to select him. And since then, he really just hasn't done anything because he can't stay on the field. Remember, he had a calf injury, this knee injury. They've always been lingering that he hasn't been able to play. And they've recently signed Shane Lemieux, who started 4 games for them last year. Which, yeah, it's kind of replacing him. Saliveri's time is coming to an end. He's on injured reserve, so he'll be, I believe, on the roster next offseason, so we might have a chance there. But he needs to rehab, stay healthy. He's been the biggest disappointment because we needed that depth and just couldn't fill it.
Yeah, it's a bummer. He came into last offseason as the projected starting left guard, ended up dealing with that calf injury, replaced by Lucas Patrick. It's all been going downhill for Nick Saldiveri. He just can't stay healthy when it matters most. It seems like every time he goes down with an injury, it's when he's in a competition for a role. And especially now with the Saints bringing in Dylan Radins, moving Trevor Penning to guard, Cesar Ruiz being a solidified starter on the other side. He's running out of options, and this really doesn't help his case.
And one of the worst
Yeah.
things with his injury for me is he is a guy that coming out of college could play 1 through 5 on the offensive line. He's got a lot of versatility. He is like a prime now in the league, probably play more in the interior, but his versatility did offer a lot of help for the Saints. But he's never been there. The Saints have an injury. Well, Nick Saldiveri is also injured. He can't fill in that role, and now you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and now I feel like it's no longer safe to have, well, we've got Nick Saldiveri back here who can plug into one of these spots, because he can't, because he is also on there in IR with them.
Yeah, I think there were some disappointing draft picks in that draft class, definitely, but I think Nick Saldiveri might be one of the top, just because of it always, as you said, it always felt like, oh, Saints are good at guard. They have Nick Saldiveri behind. Oh, he could step in, and then it just never. He was always injured, and then when he did come in, it was kind of disappointing. I mean, Nick Saldiveri came in last season as a spot starter at left guard, and it wasn't pretty. Um, so that was like it. It was an issue of if he's not performing on the field, but he's also not healthy, and it's just become this situation where it's been such a disappointing pick, and now I don't see his future on the Saints. Again, going back to my 53-man roster prediction, see, I didn't have him making the team because, as you said, the Dylan Radin signing and moving Penning to left guard, I don't know his spot here, and that's just a big issue. And I mean, and as Drew said, we weren't hearing anything, which is good. It wasn't, oh, he's getting beat every day and it just looks ugly. We weren't hearing anything. But now that there's an injury attached to it, it's sometimes injuries are just too consistent to believe in the player, and that's I think where we are.
It's also worth noting the addition of Will Clapp. Will Clapp is another guy who has a lot of experience playing 1 through 5 in the NFL, good, valuable depth piece. And look, I think it's safe to say that Nick Saldiveri was maybe the Saints replacement for Will Clapp when they did select him. And now that back, that role it's taken. And you mentioned it, Caleb. Dylan Radins, that's a guy that we really liked when the Saints signed. Before the move of Trevor Penning to left guard, we had already had talks about, we had talks about Dylan Radins potentially being the starting option for the Saints at left guard. So it really seems like Nick Saldiveri was slowly fading out of the picture anyways. So this injury really doesn't help his case, especially about during his time in New Orleans. I'm sure he'll find himself on a practice squad or something next offseason, but it does look like his tenure in the black and gold is coming to an end.
Yeah, and one thing you said, Caleb, was that he hasn't performed well. And, I mean, this can all be led back to injuries because came in as a rookie, a 4th-round rookie. He played smaller school, so wasn't able to play top end. He just hasn't had the chance to develop anyways. He's too injured to have developed, played against weaker competition in college, and then now you're going up to the NFL competition. He's played, I got it here, he's played 15 games in his career, appeared in 15 games of his career. 11 of them was with the Saints last year, and he's only started 6. He hasn't had the chance to develop to even become a better player. That's one thing that I think when we look at like Trevor Penning, he's a guy who there was some injury concern, but he's been able to play, and you've been able to see the development from such a raw player. And I think Nick Saldiveri kind of follows that same path, except he hasn't been healthy to be able to develop into what, again, that piece that could be solid. So I don't blame him for not looking great in his time with us, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to blame him for his injuries either, but he hasn't had the chance to develop because he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah, and I'm going to compare this to kind of a different player. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but kind of what happened with Traylon Burks with the Titans. Obviously, is a little bit different. The Titans traded in their draft. The Titans traded away A.J. Brown for the pick to select Traylon Burks, his wide receiver replacement. It's not a great trade in hindsight, and the pick was not good in the first round. So it's a little bit different. But Traylon Burks has dealt with injuries his whole career, young career, but when he's on the field, it hasn't looked too good, but there's always been potential. And the Titans has always thought, oh, but we have Traylon Burks. It's a very similar situation to the Saints. And Traylon Burks, I think it was a collarbone injury in training camp, and he was put on IR, I'm fairly certain. Or he's out for an extended period of time, and the Titans cut him. I could see that happening with Nick Saldivari here. And it's a similar path where it's the same career path of injuries, stopping any potential from being reached. And then when they're on the field, it's not great. And I just think it's the perfect storm for the team to move on from him as soon as possible and kind of just be like, look, you try to find another team and try to break out there, but it's not going to be with us.
Sounds a lot
And I
like
think
a
the
guy from the same draft class I was taking before Saldivari there that a lot of potential there, but we don't get to see it, huh?
I definitely think the difference between Trevor Penning and Nick Saldivari early career injury histories is it seems like Trevor Penning was having just freak accident injuries, had that Liz Frank injury, had that turf toe. I could be wrong, but it seems like Nick Saldivari, most of his injuries are soft tissue injuries, which is often the result of poor conditioning and a lot of stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just not looking promising at all for Nick Saldivari. I don't want to keep harping on him, but good Lord.
Yeah, so let's go a little lighter on him now, so I could talk about my disappointing player. And you could say when I bring it up, I'm going to talk about Charlie Smith, and when I talk about a disappointing player, we could kind of be like, yeah, it's disappointing that he's not pushing Blake Grupe for his job. But right now, it'd be pretty damn hard to push Blake Grupe for his job. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So Charlie Smith, the Saints' second, he's a second-year kicker, Irish kicker that they brought in last year to put some competition for Blake Grupe. And he was looking last year he was looking pretty solid, and he's got one hell of a leg for him. He could kick a ball, and he's posted it plenty of times. He has all the tape on Twitter, and you can see it. And obviously, you want to see it in training camp. But currently, right now, he is 13 for 20 on kicks, and a lot of these have been real not close at all kicks, and he's had days of going 2 for 5, 3 for 5. Was there a day of 1 for 5? I might be blinking, but at least 2 for 5 and 3 for 5 is confirmed. So he had some rough days kicking. And on the other hand, Blake Grupe, his only miss has been 49 yards out from the left hash in heavy rain, has been his only miss during his kicking sessions. And during yesterday's scrimmage, he was forced to kick a 59-yard field goal. Nailed it. Perfect. Blake Grupe is right now 25 for 26 on his kicks. He is, I believe you said, Nick, 96% on his kicks right now. And hit that one miss, you could give him a little bit of leeway. Like I said, 49 yards out from the left hash in heavy rain. That went away right after he kicked the ball, by the way. He could have waited 2 more minutes, and he would have been able to probably nail that one right in. Honestly, he's giving me the confidence to say that. So I can talk, and I will say Charlie Smith isn't pushing Blake Grupe to where I would have wanted him to see, but I think Blake Grupe is countering that anyways. I don't see this. Blake Grupe is your kicker one. I say that with full confidence. I mean, I'm 100%. I'd put the house on it right now. Blake Grupe is looking insane right now. Giving me a lot of confidence because we are working with young quarterbacks who will probably maybe get you into the middle of the field range and struggle in the red zone, struggle getting past the 40-yard line or so. If Blake Grupe is kicking like this, yeah, you might get a few more points offensively than last year.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect this to be the year Charlie Smith did win the competition, but I expected him to put up a much better fight than he has so far. I can't recall if it was called Kicker University. There was some kicking camp that he went with a bunch of NFL kickers earlier this offseason and won the kicking competition among all of those kickers. Last season, his leg strength was just so noticeable during practice. The thing with him was what Dennis Allen mentioned was that the Saints went with Blake Grupe because they had more confidence in him going from them intermediate to shorter ranges, which they knew Charlie Smith had no problem going deep, but that's just not the situations they would have been in. But look, I think Blake Grupe, he just deserves his flower. This is his 3rd straight kicking competition. First against Will Lutz, one of the best kickers in franchise history, a Pro Bowl kicker. Got him there. Last year, the Saints brought in a promising player from the International Pathway Program in Charlie Smith. Got him there. This year, he's absolutely dominating. Like you said, 96%. That's about as elite as it gets as a kicker. And look, I mentioned it before on this podcast. I don't think Grupe's given the credit he deserves. He's one of the more consistent kickers in the NFL, especially with how kicking has taken its turn this past couple of years. And look, I don't think the Saints could have asked for a better successor to Will Lutz than Blake Grupe. I wasn't fond of the decision when it first happened. Obviously, everybody was heartbroken when Will Lutz departed. But look, Blake Grupe has really made a name for himself here. I think he's got this one in the bag. I think he had it in the bag pretty early. Can't wait to see his jump this season because he just keeps getting better.
Yeah, and going off of what you said about our expectations of this competition, it was also, I feel like, me, it was a want. Like, I wanted to see Group E get kind of pushed a little bit here because there were times last season that Group E would miss a pretty, not, I'm not going to say 100% should go in, but a shorter field goal. And I think that also happened the year before where he was hitting them from 55, but like the 34 was missing. And it was kind of that consistency we were missing from the kickers. And that's why I was high on Charlie Smith to make this competition a thing. But yeah, it just hasn't been anything. And that comparing to the punter competition, that seems much better. It's only Blake Grupe's job. This is Blake Grupe's going to win it. I don't see there's no way. The gap is massive. It's not gonna. I don't see any changes here. So I am very disappointed in what we could have gotten, but it was kind of expected.
And to be, a little softer in Charlie Smith here, I think the Saints could have brought anybody in to give a competition right now. I think this is Blake Grupe's job solidified like that because he's proven it. Justin Tucker's free agent. So they brought Justin Tucker and all that, and Justin Tucker was kicking whatever. I think Charlie Smith beats him out. I mean, not Charlie Smith. Blake Grupe beats him out anyways. 25 for 26. Everything that he's doing right now, I don't see anyone coming in and beating out Blake Grupe because obviously the idea is Blake Grupe is our starter, but we want to bring in a competition. Somebody push Blake Grupe out of this competition. I don't know. I'm not saying he's the best. Hold on. I'm not saying he's the best kicker in the league, but I'm saying his consistency and what he has proven right now, he has shown that this is his job and this is his team. If they were to bring anyone in for competition and they would have performed better, Charlie Smith could have performed significantly better than what he's doing right now. But Blake Grupe has shown no reason to move on from him.
And I don't care who you are, there should always be a special teams competition every single offseason. There's no reason not to have another kicker competition or another punter come in, another punter competition. I don't care who the kicker or punter is. They always need to be tested because as we've seen, kicker fall off is real. It happens random and it's real. They get the yips and then they just start missing kicks all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and it's just not great. So it can happen at any time, and you need to prepare for that because if once a kicker is bad, your offense changes. Now you have to force yourself in the red zone. You have to force touchdowns. More turnovers happen. I mean, when people don't give special teams enough credit, they really don't. It's huge to have a good kicker. We've seen so many good teams have good kickers. Look at the Chiefs. Harrison Butker can hit from anywhere. Like it changes everything. So if Blake Grupe can stay this consistent in the season, the Saints offense is going to be better, which is not being talked about also.
Yeah, and I'm not, again, preseason, I'm not like fully sitting here and I'm thinking Blake Grupe is going to be 96% in preseason or in the season, right? But it's significantly, it's impressive. It's impressive what he's doing right now. He has solidified his role. He has solidified his job. And that's what I meant by they could have bring anyone off the streets or anybody that's a free agent right now. They wouldn't have pushed his job away. They wouldn't have pushed Grupe away. So what he will do for a Saints offense that we know has been spotty in off season right now, and what he's going to do is going to significantly make the offense better because I'm not trusting Blake Grupe to, and there was times Dennis Allen didn't trust Blake Grupe to kick from 52 yards out. I believe actually there was times they opted to go for it. Now obviously I know the stats, I know things like that, or the analytics would say go for it or so, but there would be like a 4th and 6. There was a situation last year where it was early on in the season and it was like 4th and 6 or 4th and 7 and the Saints went for it or punted, but they punted from like a 52 yards out, and that's something, maybe not 52, but we're in a range where it was like you don't see the confidence in Grupe, and maybe that narrative is changing now.
Well, yeah, actually, speaking of confidence, I think it's worth noting how much more confident he seems during the media interviews, just carrying himself around the facility. He just seems like it's actually crazy to think about now. He's the longest tenured special teamer, aside from Zach Wood, obviously, one of the league's best long snappers. You had a rookie punter last year in Matthew Hayball coming back for a second year. James Burnap, rookie punter. Charlie Smith, still yet to see an NFL snap. Last year was his first offseason. Blake Grupe's that veteran now. It's clear that he knows this is his job, which he should feel that way. And I think that leadership has definitely sparked some encouragement in the competitions going on within the building as well, especially when it comes to the punting battle and all that stuff as well.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what Grupe could do because it's been a while since we've had that real solid. Like, well, it's been since Will Lutz left that we had this out, and we do know Lutz ending tenure wasn't the most solid either. But Caleb, now go to it. I know you have a few names that you want to throw out that you wish we would have seen more of, or you're hoping make bigger plays going forwards because we have not seen it from them yet.
Yeah, there's three players that didn't jump out to me, and that was the issue. But for this topic, they jumped out to me that I kind of wanted to go through quickly. So first, Jalen Ford. I think even throughout camp, think he had the one time I've heard his name is he had a during the scrimmage. But besides that, it's just been the Danny Stutzman show, and I haven't heard anything about Jalen Ford, which is a player we. Vernon Broughton next. Again, we had not high hopes for Vernon Broughton, but wanted to hear him make plays in training camp, and we really haven't seen that or heard a lot from him. And then Bub Means is probably the biggest one. Bub Means on all of our lists was, okay, step up and be wide receiver 5 or 4 and really make those plays throughout camp. But that's been Mason Tipton. And Mason Tipton has really taken the shine away from Bub. I'm not sure. I know what Bub Means can do, and maybe he's better in game, and that's all preseason. But Mason Tipton has taken that, and we haven't really heard much about Means. But the player that I want to talk about that's definitely more disappointing than anything is Isaac Yadam. And it's mainly because of, yes, we haven't heard from him, but there's been a lot of clips where, like, there's times he's just getting absolutely beat. And it might be less about Yadam and more about Quincy Wright, the Saints rookie cornerback out of Louisville. And it's because Riley is completely outplaying Adam. There's not, in my opinion, it's not as close. Riley's making plays in camp. He's getting interceptions. He already has 2 interceptions and should be 3, but it was a toe out of bounds. He's been having good coverage on players. He's not making mistakes. It's just, it feels like it's Quincy Riley's job, which is not something I was going to say before training camp. I have said this on this podcast multiple times that I feel bad about this cornerback room just because I don't know where they are. My stance has changed. You have Kool-Aid McKinstry looking like a number 1 option, absolutely dominating in camp, getting beat here and there, but that's what happens in camp. Camp is hard on cornerbacks because they look, most of the time they look bad, but like he's looking great. Alante Taylor's going to fit into that role and he's looking good. Quincy Riley is going to be probably, in my opinion, the other boundary cornerback. And that is a young group, but from what we've been seeing in camp, that is a dangerous group. And I think, yes, it might be more about Riley and less about Yadam, but like he was supposed to be kind of that veteran stopgap to be that other outside corner, and we really haven't seen that as. And in my opinion, that's a little good, just because if I'm pretty sure that Over the Cap released this. It might have been Spot Rack. But if Isaac Yadam plays a certain amount of snaps, the Saints will get their compensatory pick that they would get from the Paulson Adebo Giants signing taken away. And how important picks are with a young team, I'd rather Quincy Riley just come in, play, and Isaac Yadam kind of be that depth piece. But yeah, it's been a mixture of other players outplaying him, not making as many plays in camp, getting beat at times, and him just not being talked about enough.
Yeah, and there's a couple things I'd actually like to touch on. One of the bigger things is Christian Boyd has actually been making a lot more plays, which I think could have a lot to do with Vernon Broughton not being heard about enough. Christian Boyd got a hand on one of Jake Hayner's passes. It was a quick read. It was very impressive. When it comes to the cornerback room, Rico Payton, Quincy Riley, guys like that are making it very hard for Isaac Yadam at the moment. Rico Payton, it's like he's got eyes on the back of his head. He just always knows where the ball is coming. Quincy Riley as well is a ball magnet. Those two guys have really impressed. They're very young, very inexperienced, but I think that's a good thing in the Saints case, especially considering that they need guys for their future. And I feel like those two guys can definitely be them. And then looking at the linebacker room, Nephi Sewell's emergence has really surprised me. That's probably why we haven't heard much from Jalen Ford as well. Sewell's got 2 interceptions already throughout camp. He's been a good tackler, making great reads. Even Tyreen Powell's getting his hands on some balls. Sorry, I looked at Kyle and I knew he was gonna. I knew he was gonna do it. Sorry.
I wasn't gonna do it.
So yeah, I definitely think that there's some position groups that are a lot more crowded than we initially thought they would be when we came into the season. I can't remember the other position you were mentioning. Oh, Bub Means, the wide receiver room. There's been a couple guys that we haven't heard of actually. Donovan Peoples-Jones, we heard his name for the first time on Sunday during the scrimmage with a reception from Jake Haener. Cedric Wilson's actually been talked about more than I thought he would be. I kind of pointed to him being able to fill that slot role for the Saints. It looks like they're maybe embracing that. Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, obviously we know what they're going to do. And Mason Tipton, like you mentioned, Caleb, he's just been a play-making machine. Had another 40-plus yard reception the other day. Received some more high praise from Kellen Moore. He said he makes plays, he pops up, and no matter how the script plays out, the ball just gravitates to him. He said he's continuing to take advantage of his opportunities, and more will come because of that. So I think it's becoming a lock that Mason Tipton's probably going to be on this roster this next coming season. He said that he's at 187 pounds now, 4 pounds up from last year. Said he stressed the importance of being football strong this offseason, not just track fast. And he said it'll make him faster in game because of that, because he's been able to develop those muscles the right way. So look, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mason Tipton has in store this season. I still think Bub Means time will come. It just may not be how the offense is shaping up right now.
Yeah.
I wanted to chime in on what Caleb was saying about the compensatory picks. With Isaac Yiadom, it's not like a 7th-round pick that you lose. It's not a 6th-round pick. It's a 4th-round pick. As high as you'd get for losing Paulson and Debo. So if Quincy Riley, if Rico Payton, if all of them can develop, that is best-case scenario for you. Then you can keep Isaac Yiadom as more of a background piece. I think that's huge, not just because Isaac Yiadom hasn't been playing well or doing any of that, but because of how well they're playing, that would be a great option for them.
And could I just say, that's definitely a flawed system that Isaac Yiadom wipes out your lost. Paulson Adebo signed
Like the contracts were not close. Like the contracts were not close.
Super deal with the Giants, and we got a 3-year, $9 million deal for Isaac Yiadom. So it's a flawed system. But I do want to say for Isaac Yiadom, it is a 3-year deal, which is significant in say because now he's a depth piece, and he will be a depth piece for the Saints at worst, and a solid one. He was a solid when he was with us before he left for San Francisco. So at worst, he's a solid depth piece for the Saints. But I do agree with what you're saying. Quincy Riley has been making it hard to not say his name. He's been making a lot of plays, and even Rico Payton, again, another guy that's making a lot of plays. He was actually, I believe he was the one that knocked down Shuck's pass that Nafai Sewell actually intercepted. I believe Rico Payton's the one that made the play on the ball. So these guys are all making plays, leading to turnovers and things like that. So it's hard to see Yiadom come in and take that starting spot. And it kind of allows the Saints to roll out 3 young cornerbacks with Alontae Taylor in the slot, which Alontae Taylor's kind of getting out of that young, right? He's a veteran in a sense. He's been here for a while, but he's going to be in the slot. You're going to have Kool-Aid on the outside and maybe Quincy Riley on the other outside. And then you got Julian Blackmon, again, a young guy. So younger guy in the secondary. So the secondary, if it is with Quincy Riley, will be quite young with Justin Reed being your oldest guy and then everybody else on either rookie contracts and then Julian Blackmon coming off of his rookie contract.
And look, like with the role that Alontae Taylor's in, there's also going to be a lot of chemistry on the outside, and then someone else where that might be a Romati or one of the safeties plays there. So that's going to change things also. But I think looking at using hindsight, like with my feelings about the cornerback room, which again I was not high on, I honestly think that if the Saints would have gone into the season, or if they do go into the season with Isaac Yiadom as that other boundary corner, I would feel the same way that I did, where I wasn't confident about the room. I wasn't feeling good. But the fact that these other younger players like Rico Payton and Quincy Riley have stepped up, that has made me feel more comfortable. And it just makes me feel better about the position that the Saints are with their cornerback room and the potential that they have. But if it was like, oh, these players, the younger players aren't really stepping up, Adam's kind of doing what a veteran does at cornerback, then I would have felt bad about this cornerback room. But now I feel a lot better. I still think they could upgrade, like, let's say next draft or something, but that's in the future.
And it's interesting, going off of what you were saying about having a different outlook on the cornerback room now. We were kind of talking about it before this episode about how we're now entering the season without the top 3 defensive backs that were on the Saints roster last offseason, in Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, and Tyrann Mathieu. And I'm somehow more comfortable than I was last season when it comes to the secondary. The addition of Julian Blackmon has just been outstanding. He's came in and brought the vibes right away. The chemistry looks to be through the roof. He's already locked up that starting role over Jordan Howden. Took no time. And Jonas Sanker, what 4th round pick? What was he?
4th round, I'm pretty sure.
It was
Wait,
third,
no,
it was
he-
second and the third.
Yeah.
Second pick in the 3rd round. The
Okay,
Saints.
Third round. Yeah,
Mm.
Virginia Tech, I believe, right? Virginia Tech.
No.
Virginia.
Virginia.
Just regular Virginia.
It's Virginia.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't make that mistake.
Yeah, I know. Not around him. But look, he's just been. It looks like the Saints have found a hidden gem in Sanker. He's just like a heat-seeking missile when that ball comes out of the backfield. Just finds a way to find it, and his range has been really impressive after watching some more of his tape. He just seems like I said, a hidden gem. Not a guy that many of us were aware of before the draft. During the pre-draft process, had done some digging into it, and I'm really liking the pick there. And Justin Reed, another guy who's taken initiative of this leadership role in the secondary. What I said he would have to do after Tyrann Mathieu's departure. It really looks like things are coming together in the secondary, and I credit that a lot to Terry Joseph as well with his modern approach. Coming from the college game, it's a lot different, and I credit that a lot to the vibes and how they've changed in the cornerback room and the safety room.
Yeah, and also like going back to this past draft class that just happened in 2024 or 2025, sorry, this year, it is starting to look like the Saints have 3 to 4 starters already from this draft. Obviously, if Tyler Shuck starts right away, then he included, but you have Danny Stutzman, you have Quincy Riley, and you have Kelvin Banks right away. That's, I mean, to have that in a draft rookie year, have 3 starting level players, people would call that a home run draft right away. So the fact, obviously, if Shuck doesn't pan out, then there's a little bit of a stain on it. But like, that's a really good draft class for Kellen Moore's first year in New Orleans. And obviously, we don't know on the field yet, but right now it's starting to look good.
Yeah, and I think my biggest concern is because I'm interested that you guys say we feel more confident going with the DB room now than we did last season. Because, like I said, it's a lot of young guys here. And there's a lot of mistakes to be made. Now, one thing is, I truly think the Saints fit with Kool-Aid McKinstry. I mean, he's looked outstanding. Is it crazy to say? I mean, I see him developing into a top DB or top quarterback in the league. I think there's going to be talks about Kool-Aid McKinstry in the top 10. And it's crazy because we saw it last year, and he was solid last year. Not bad at all. You saw the rookie mistakes. But, I mean, he just feels like that one player that's going to take that step up, and I feel a lot of confidence in what Kool-Aid McKinstry, especially in this defense, that he's going to be on this Brandon Staley defense. But with that being said, outside, still we don't know what Alontae Taylor really is. It's waiting to see the consistency come from him, and then Quincy Riley, if he is taking that outside spot. Obviously, don't know what he is yet either. And then Julian Blackmon, he was good. He played good. He was good as his spot. But the Saints only brought him in for a 1-year deal, so again, interesting to see the dynamic there. And now I'm not as confident as you guys are in the secondary, but it could be exciting. And that's the best of it is we don't know what we have in the secondary yet. And the secondary was the talk that we had over and over, where we even for some episodes had to say, hey, no more talking about the DB room. I'm going to talk about that. We talked about it too much because the Asante Samuel talks that we had, Shavarius Ward was somebody that Saints are interested in early on. Like, we talked about the Saints DB room a lot. And then Tyrann Mathieu retired. And it's like, wow, how do but you know what? I agree that I'm excited for what this DB room could be and how they could play. I'm not so sure if I'm as confident, but it's going to be an exciting bunch. And I think Brandon Staley is a perfect person to have control of that unit.
Yeah, I think it's very volatile just because of their age and how young all the corners are, and it could just go wrong very quickly. And that was my main issue with this. And it's like, if the pass rush doesn't do well, and let's say the pass rush, they don't get the quarterback and all that, this cornerback room can get absolutely destroyed because it's just like, that's kind of a veteran thing to still make play. Marshawn Lattimore still made plays if the pass rush didn't get there. That's not something rookies can do all the time. But I also want to kind of compare real quick the 3 corners with the prior 3 corners group of Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, and Alontae Taylor. Obviously, Alontae Taylor is the same person, but if Kool-Aid kind of is the Marshawn Lattimore. He's like, oh, we think he's the number one. I think he's going to be locked up. Going to give him that, not to same level right now, but we trust him against the best corner. And then you have Quincy Riley, who, as Nick kind of compared, is a little Paulson Adebo-ish, where he's really good in the air, can make massive plays, can make interceptions, might get beat at times, but will still make massive plays. So you have that, and then you still have Alontae. This could just be the younger version of the room the Saints just had. And if that's the case, I feel a lot better. Obviously, that we don't know yet, but it could be the case.
Yeah, and I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is a guy that needs a bit more credit for the offseason he's been having. Kellen Moore said that this has been a big-time camp and that he's been phenomenal all offseason long. Kool-Aid himself said that this is a fresh start this year. He said this defense is similar to what he played at Bama, and he trusts the coaches. So that's also good to hear because obviously with Dennis Allen controlling the defensive side of the ball last year, you could have expected some turmoil probably behind the scenes. But he said he's just staying true to himself. Playing this scheme is very comfortable to him, which is extremely encouraging to hear. And you can see it in the way he's been performing. He looks like he's got that swagger back that we saw in college. And I'm excited to see if he takes that next step because I totally agree with you, Kyle. I think he will be a future Pro Bowl defensive back in this league.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see everything that we talk about, and we've been talking about all this so much. I can't wait to finally see it in preseason. Because a lot of these guys, we haven't had the announcement yet on who's playing what. If we're seeing, we're going to see starters because we're running out young rookies QB competition. We're going to see starters, obviously. I want to see how much our starters actually play. But we'll finally get our questions answered this week. Saints play Sunday. And now closing up this episode, we hope you guys join us on either Thursday or Friday coming up as we break down everything that we're going to be looking for in the game, all the topics that come with game day. But we appreciate you everybody tuning in. Make sure you guys let us know. We now have our @s on screen, so if you hate one of our takes, let us know. And we'll see you guys next time.